we have to have seven. We have to have seven. So good evening, everyone. It is now 6:01. We are going to... Okay. Good evening. We're going to call the meeting to order at 6:01 and 6:02, exactly on the head. Glad to have everyone here this evening. Hope you have had a festive holiday season, that you're not like me and you ate too much food, and we're still trying to work all that off. Going into a great holiday season. Hopefully you all have a great time, and hopefully we will not take a long time tonight, but we're going to be here as long as we need to be. I'm calling the meeting to order. We will start with a motion to approve the agenda, but I'd like to make an amendment. I'd like to entertain an amendment to the agenda so that we could allow for public comment. So we talked about it last time, but I want to make sure anyone that wants to discuss any of the 5 names we have, whether they jump in via Zoom or they come in person, that we would have that as an amendment to the agenda. So hopefully someone will make a motion to include that amendment.
I move that we include community comment.
And I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved and seconded that we have, we approve the agenda with an amendment to have public comment. Look at our people, look at our people, look at our people. Right on time, right on time. We're gonna need one more chair, Ms. Green.
And y'all, I was passing out the agendas that were 2 pages. There is a 3rd page if you're missing that 3rd page.
Oh, I don't have a third.
Okay. Here you go. I didn't have the 3 pages, so.
So we have on the floor currently a motion to approve the agenda with an amendment being to allow for public comment for the names that we have. Discussion on the motion. Any discussion on the motion? All in, yes, sir?
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes, sir.
So as I read the agenda, I believe the last thing we did at the last meeting was narrow down a list of names. Would it be the first thing at this agenda to further narrow that list?
It's number 4.
It's number 4. From my perspective, it would come after the number 3, or it could be, I'm going to say, you could make it part 4A, because what we would do is, my intention would be to list the 5 names, to put those in the public square that we voted on the last time, and then allow anyone who has, from the public, before our vote, before our commentary, who has up to 3 minutes, because we would have the same, I try to keep the same standard that the school board has, and if that's incorrect, Ms. Green can correct me, and allow them to comment on any name that they want to. We would then close public comment, and then would open the floor to us, and then we would have free-for-all, because we get to speak as long as we choose to vote on, to discuss any individual name we would choose to.
Understood. I was just
That would be my expectation. I'm open to you all changing that, but that would be how I plan to run the meeting.
I just wanted to clarify that because I didn't see that there was that discussion amongst the group before there was a vote, so I wanted to make sure that we had that opportunity.
Yes, sir. Representative Henson. I thought you were saying something you wanted to comment.
My question was.
Yes, ma'am.
Where are you putting public comment?
I'm gonna make it, I'll make it item 4 because it'll be before a vote, and then move that down to item 5. So we'd switch it down to having 7 items. We would do that. Any other discussion on the motion? Yes, ma'am, Ms. Strain.
Point of clarification, are we going to move discussion and submission of final names above the vote to narrow the list?
No, because to me,
We're just going to discuss the final names. Okay.
and we can discuss the definition of that as we move forward, because we're not locked into to this issue of what it means for us, because we'll do democratic rules always carry the day of how we want to do it.
Thank you,
And what
Mr.
that looks
Chair.
like. Any other questions on the motion to approve the agenda with the amendment to allow for public comment? No, it's already been moved. I'm just, any more comments on it? All in favor? We did. Ms. Strain seconded. It's okay. It's okay.
Clarification, shall I relist the agenda?
No, I think we're good. Do you need anything else, Ms. Green? Are you good?
No, sir.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion passes. For the purposes, and I should have said this, but for the purposes of the minutes, Ms. Green, do you mind doing a roll call? Because I think it's important, at least for today's meeting in particular, that we're on the record for who's here and who's not here, so that when we have a vote, the record will reflect that. I know you'll take the names anyway, but it's always nice to me to almost have a clerk function, if you don't mind, to just say the names.
Okay, so for in attendance tonight, I have Mr. Ed Jennings, the chair, Dr. Jeffrey King, vice chair, Pastor Ron Rawls, Dr. John Rame, Miss Evelyn Fox, Miss Karen Alford, Miss Kathy Norman, Mr. Prescott Coles, I see Mr. Blunt, and I see Representative Henson, and Ms. Strain, and I believe that is everybody. Ms. Fox.
What I would also ask is staff, if we can get, because we now have some additional members, I want to make sure that there's enough. Do we need one more microphone on that end so that you all are not having, you got enough down there to share? You guys are good? I want to make sure that's the case, because I'll make sure everybody's got a chance to.
And Ms. Hampton just walked in.
There we go. Okay.
So I believe that's the full entire committee.
That's exactly where we want it to be. That's almost like it was premeditated, that we would have that be the case. So that's a good deal to have everyone's voice heard who came and was a part of this. So the next item we have on the agenda is a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting of November the 14th. Is there a motion? Blunt, is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Henson, Representative Henson, discussion. Anything you see there that needs to be adjusted or addressed? Going once, going twice, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Based on our just recent amendment to the agenda, the first thing up would be having public comment. We hadn't adopted any rules for that, but I would assume, and the staff can correct me, I believe public comment is allowed at school board meetings to be 3 minutes each. So each person from the public, again, I'm not restricting, or not trying to restrict any of the committee members. We'll speak it when our time comes, as long as we choose to, with names, and we'll have that conversation. But to allow members of the public. And I don't think we need to have a motion, but I would yield to a 3-minute time frame for all of those who want to speak. And if anyone is joining us via the web, they can do that as well from a speaking perspective. And those that are here, I would ask, I don't know, Ms. Green, do we have forms at all? Or how, I would, without a form, I would ask that they would say their name for the record. So we would have that name. I don't know what else they normally take here. I know at other boards, they may take a email address and a phone number, but I would at least be asking for a name for the person speaking. If the board is fine with that, that's what I would do. And we would just take them, since we don't have a list, we would allow them to come in the order they would have, as long as Ms. Green or someone on staff is going to be the time clock, or do I need to use a phone? Do we have a time clock up here someplace we can use, Ms. Green?
But it's blocked from the, yeah,
Because I can,
but they won't be able to see.
are you gonna call them?
Use it, but it'll be blocked for the speaker, so it's up to you.
I'll let you be the care. I'd rather you be the warden versus me having to be the warden. So if you'll do that, and we will allow. I see Commissioner Chestnut. I see former school board member McGraw. I'm not sure who else, in any particular order that you would want to come up and you have each 3 minutes. Do we need to say for the record, as a part of the agenda, the 5 names, or do we know those and you will just go ahead and speak on what you would have to? We can do that, or we can,
They may even have different names, so.
they can speak on whatever they'd like to, just knowing that we're looking at those 5. So I'll yield to Ms. Chestnut. I think one of the young ladies on this end was here first. So one of the two of you would speak first for 3 minutes, and Ms. Green is going to give you the high sign, hopefully in a minute, to know that what your timing is. Thank you.
Hello? Okay, thank you. My name is Dottie Fabercy. I'm a resident of Gainesville, and I'm happy to have this opportunity to speak about Charles Chestnut, a very noted civil rights activist. I think that was probably one of the very first things I learned when I moved to Gainesville over 30 years ago now, is how well known he was. The other thing that was most impressive about Mr. Chestnut is the many, many years he served as a member of the Alachua County School Board. I don't think we can ignore that fact at all. He was also an Alachua County Commissioner. So this building it would be wonderful to have this building named after Charles Chestnut. It's a name that's recognized by many, many of the citizens in this area. Thank you.
I'm going to go next.
Former School Board McGraw, so glad to have you. Thank you for being a major part of us having this opportunity to do this, and we thank you as always for your service. And just as an anecdote of a biased person, we look forward to future service. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much again, Diane McGraw. This did come up during my tenure, and one of the things, when it was brought to by the Human Rights Coalition, also you had the Mayor Harvey Ward who brought this to our attention. And when you think about who was trailblazed, who's made a difference, Mr. Chestnut did that for 16 years here as a policymaker who made policy change. And when you think about, you got Miss Merrick's, however, she would be great to name over at Duval. She was one of the greatest teachers that we have. But when we talk about the long-standing history that made change that affected all of the children, you think about the Chestnut name. And he is a person, when you think about who can lead and who does what, he's done it, he did it for a long time while he was living. And I think when we first wanted African-American history into the public school system, and when it was not being taught on a regular basis, he was the one who came up and led that charge. And so when you think about the appropriateness as far as the name for this particular building, you would look at the longest standing serving school board member, which is Mr. Chestnut. And I think that is very appropriate. You have some wonderful names. Somebody had mentioned about just naming it the Alachua County Administration. Well, we have the county. We don't want to confuse people. You want to make it, you want to separate it and make sure it's different. And so I am in support of this building because I think it's most appropriate with all of the work and what he has done. Like Ms. Dottie said, he was a civil rights leader, and I think that he made a difference for all children here in Alachua County as an elected official serving 16 years. Thank you.
Thank you, School Member McGraw, for being here with us. Thank you again for your service and your being a major part of this. Mr. Christopher Chestnut, are you next? Thank you, sir.
Good evening. It's a visual aid, probably more substantive than my comments, but these are multiplication cards that upon my returning to Gainesville and working at the funeral home, I found more of these in Chestnut Funeral Home than I did church vans. And so my dad would have boxes of these cards that he would buy and hand out to, he'd take it to Duval and Rawlings, et cetera, et cetera. But I think it's just emblematic of his commitment not only to education, his appreciation for education, and I would venture to say old school education, right? You can learn a lot on that card. But also to the community. And I may take a more objective approach in my remarks, and I'd invite the community to just evaluate the message we want to convey to the youth, to our community, and through a lived experience of Charles Chestnut III. I think it's important for youth to know in Gainesville, right? There's a saying to bring that college home, that there are folks who are homegrown. Charles Chestnut was born in Gainesville, right on 8th Avenue. He left and went to Bethune-Cookman, but came back. That you can, even if you go away, can come back home and be impactful in the community. I think it's important that he was an entrepreneur. That is not as common in this community, especially homegrown. Often we celebrate athletes, and we've had some great NFL players here to make headlines, but just everyday entrepreneurs. And he's not a Bill Gates entrepreneur, right? He's an everyday, relatable, tangible, down the street entrepreneur who's getting up, working hard every day. That is more of a common lived experience that I think a lot of students who are coming through Alachua County can empathize with. I think it's important to also consider the example he's setting in being able to not only be an entrepreneur, but at the same time, from an altruistic standpoint, give back to the community as an elected official, demonstrating that you can do good and do well at the same time. I think all of these things are emblematic, they're subtle, right? But these are themes that speak to different segments of the community. I heard mention of he was a civil rights leader, and he was, and was very much committed to civil rights. I would also consider him a bridge builder. My dad would commonly meet with Reverend T.A. Wright and have discussions about civil rights, and then I'd hear about him going out to Monteoka and meeting with Bud Robinson, right, or Cotton Fletcher, and now Blake Fletcher and our friends. But these are uncommon friends. I never would have expected of his closeness and relationship to Clark Butler. But these are relationships that he could go from East Gainesville and convey, advocate, perhaps promote understanding in West Gainesville and be a bridge builder to both. These are themes that there's an importance to civil rights. There's also just an importance to everyday living. And this is relatable. These are themes that are very much necessary, not only for folks in East Gainesville, kids in East Gainesville, but kids in West Gainesville as well. Because I will tell you, as someone who graduated from Alachua County schools, I thought to make it, I have to leave here. And that's not the reality. And that was not his lived experience. I think his name on this building will be exemplar of that. So I think it's just worthy of consideration. Obviously, he was committed to Alachua County schools and had been dedicated as an elected official throughout. So we appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Chestnut. I believe the last speaker we have, at least, is there anyone else, Ms. Green, that's in the system, Zoom or some other way that we're not catching?
No, we don't have that feature tonight.
We don't have that feature. There you go. Okay. Madam Mayor Pro Tem of City Commission, Ms. Chestnut.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. Thank you for allowing us to come and share a few words with you. And I am here to ask you to advance my husband's name favorably to the school board for naming this building. And I think that all of our speakers have been very good, but I think this sums it up best. I'm going to read this proclamation in honor of Charles S. Chestnut III. Whereas Charles S. Chestnut III, a revered and impactful leader in the realm of civil rights and a pillar of the Gainesville community, passed away on December 4th, 2023, leaving behind a legacy of unwavering dedication to equality and justice. And whereas Charles Chestnut, an esteemed alumnus of Howard High School and Eccles School of Mortuary Science, displayed a lifelong commitment to empowerment and change, marked notably by his presence at the historic I Have a Dream speech by Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. in Washington, D.C. And whereas Charles Chestnut's influential role in the civil rights movement, particularly in Gainesville and Alachua County, began very early in his life and was distinguished by his courageous efforts in organizing sit-ins, his pivotal presidency of the Alachua County NAACP Youth Council, and his relentless advocacy for voting rights and public accommodations. And whereas Charles Chestnut was a groundbreaking figure in the integration of Alachua County, serving with distinction as the first African-American member of the School Board of Alachua County, a role he held for 16 years, and as county commissioner, tirelessly working to enhance community relations and lift up the underrepresented. And whereas Charles Chestnut was committed to high-quality education for all students, and his experience, expertise, and commitment led to his appointment by then-Governor Bob Graham to the Florida Council on Educational Management and his election as president of the Florida School Boards Association in 1987, among other awards, recognition, and honors. Now, therefore, the School Board of Alachua County hereby acknowledges with deep respect and profound gratitude the extraordinary life and invaluable service of Charles S. Chestnut III and extends its most heartfelt condolences to his family. Signed and sealed on the 18th day of December 2023, Shane Andrews, Superintendent of Schools, Diane McGraw, School Board Chair. Now, I'll close with this. That little card that we passed out is something that he shared that it just represents, oh, let me have one. It's the reading on here that he wanted every student to feel. If you can believe, you can achieve. May this help you become an achiever. Your education is your future. And not only did he take the multiplication table, but I don't know how they teach multiplication now. I think it's with I think everybody has their own little computer. So, but the grammar rules, because he realized unless you can speak, you're really not going to be able to advance in society. And so he wanted children to have this, and I'm happy to share it with you. Then other thing that he fought for tirelessly, along with Khalid Blunt, just about every meeting, was the teaching of Black history in Alachua County. And that went on for years until I got to the legislature and we were able to get it passed, the teaching of Black history. Of course, that has been rescinded, but it will have another day, another time. It will come back. But that is what he dedicated his life to, and he was very honored to serve, and I appreciate you all letting us have a few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Chestnut, for being with us. Thank you, all of you, for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here. Ms. Green, is there anyone I have missed from the public to give them an opportunity to speak? Thank you. What I would assume, coming back to the committee, I'm going to use a full set of rules. We're going to see if you will accept them, that if you've already spoken, the public will now have spoken. Now the entire set of commentary will come to us as a committee. So we will go back and forth. There may be one or more motions that are made tonight, but we won't go back to the public and have more commentary. We will speak among ourselves, and we will do that. What I would hope that we would do, we did not establish at the last meeting a formal process, but what I'm going to do, or ask Ms. Green to do for the record, is to just read the 5 options that we agreed upon at the last meeting. So those are the 5 names that we came out with, so that we know what they are, so we know what we're voting on in regard to that opportunity. We did leave ourselves, as the committee, an opportunity, if we chose to add a committee member, could add a name in addition. If they want to do that at any point, we allowed that process, but I would hope anyone who had a desire for that, they would have spoken at the last meeting. We made a vote, we gave ourselves the opportunity, and democracy rules, and we came up with 5. After Ms. Green lists the 5 names. There are 6 names, I apologize. I said 6. There are 6. The 6 names, I apologize. The 6 names that we have. After we do that, I think we do need to discuss a process, and I'm the kind that wants to discuss a process before we get in, because I don't want the debate to get crazy after we start getting names and votes. And my hope would be, and you tell me what your thought process and we can discuss it, is that we would recommend a name to the school board, that we wouldn't cut. Today is, in my mind, is not a time to cut from 5 to 3 or 5 to 2, that we would cut the list down to 1. We would recommend that 1 to the school board at the next regular meeting, or whatever Ms. Green tells us it would be agended. It may or may not be the next meeting, but as soon as they would be open to putting it on the agenda, and then we would all come to our schedules and come to that meeting. We would say this was what we recommended. We talk a little bit about our process, and then yield it to them to make the call that they get to make. But I want to start tonight with a conversation after the 6 names are read, that we then talk about the process by which we would come to one name. There are a couple of different ways you can get there. You can do several rounds of voting, or you can have one person at any point can make a motion for a name, get it seconded, we can take a vote. The last time we did multiple balloting with names, with numbers, and we did 1 through 5. So there are a couple of different ways we can do that, and I will yield it to the body for their process. But first, Ms. Green, if you would just say for the record, you will yield the 6 names that are up for consideration this evening.
Do you want the names and the tally of votes that each name received, or just the names?
Just in my mind, just names, because we said at the last meeting the tally wasn't important. We all names are considered today as equal, regardless of how they got there numbers wise. We just are going to consider them as they're starting out with 0 today.
Yes, sir. The first name on the list is District Administration. Number 2 is Charles Chestnut III. Number 3 is Joseph Buchanan. Number 4 is Gloria Jean Merricks. Number 5 is John Dukes Jr. And number 6 is Patricia Hilliard Nunn.
Thank you so much, Ms. Green. Is everybody in accord with those were the 6 names we recommended, so we don't have any challenges, well, my name didn't get there, or there was a miscount or a redo, or some, I was gonna be a little flip about January 20th, but I won't do that. I won't go back into our history and say that today, that we'll have that opportunity. So assuming that we have those 6 names to be considered, the chair would like to start with entertaining a motion or open for discussion on how we cut the names down from 6. I'm saying 1, but I don't get to make that call by myself. We get to make that call about how we want to operate that. Mr. Khalid Blunt.
I'd like to suggest that each member here have a chance to state their position about names, and we can decide if that eliminates or elevates any.
That is an option. Other commentary for that? I think I would yield no matter what, be clear, no matter what process we have, each of you, as you choose, you don't have to, each of you as you choose would have the opportunity to speak on behalf of 1 or more people. That's no question. That will happen regardless, because that's what we're here for, to be able to do that. But I'm open to whatever process we have. Yes, sir.
Just a point of clarification, I think what we are talking about is whether or not this group recommends 1 name or more than 1 name to the board. We're not talking about how we're voting.
Well, 2 processes, and that's a very good point to make. So I'll take then that the chair would hope to entertain a motion to say first of how many names we want to recommend, because that might lead into how we choose. So that in my mind, if the chair would entertain a motion to say, we as a committee have decided what we would like to do is recommend one name to the school board. That may take us one or more rounds of voting to get there, but that would be what the body wants to do if it agrees. And so the chair would entertain a motion to some comment to that effect. That would be what that we're going forward, because when we set that rule, then we can figure out how we step into getting to the person. Not everybody at once. Representative Henson.
Are we saying we're deciding now whether we're going to submit one name or more than one?
That is the chair's desire, but we as a committee get to make that decision if we want to do it that way. So yes, that's what I'm putting on the floor.
Would you like each of us to tell you our preference?
I would first like to, before we do with preference, that we want to, as a committee first, we're agreeing to the rules. The rules being, out of tonight's meeting, it is our goal to have one name to be referred. We can talk about how we get there in regard to commentary after that. But that would be the first step, is to say we agree that we are going to recommend one name to the school board. So that's what the chair.
We need to make comment on that before we file a motion.
We can make comment on the rule itself, but not on the people yet.
No, I'm talking about the rules.
Yes, ma'am, exactly.
Thank you.
Sir, and then we'll come back to Mr. Blunt.
I'm not strongly in favor of agreeing to that now, just because as a group, we have not discussed or debated the names, why we would like one or the other, and it may come as a result of that discussion that there's more than one, and the policy allows us to send a list or send one, so I wouldn't want to narrow us down, not knowing what everyone's preferences are at this point.
I will yield. Others, Mr. Blunt, anybody else?
I thought the board was clear in their charge that this committee select a name. They could have picked from a basket on their own without us. So I think that was their intention. However, I still am anxious to let all the members make their comments and get moving.
I am. Again, however, you get to choose as a body how we want to do this. I was, in my mind, getting on one accord to one name sets the tenure. There's no, and like I said, I don't want to repeat myself too many times, but there's no question that everyone will have the opportunity to speak their piece in regard to who they, or they may have more than one person that they want to support. I think Ms. Strain is coming. I'm trying to get some people who haven't spoken yet and come back to Representative Henson. Yes, ma'am.
So I just want to follow up on my original comment and say that I think we should try to get to one name tonight.
Okay.
I have a point of information.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened in the last one when they did Parker? How many did we send to the board? One. Okay, thank you. So precedent's been set that one goes to the board.
It wasn't even debated. We didn't have this conversation. We just said we were going to put forward.
Ms. Alford.
I think I recall in past meetings that we did discuss names. The committee had the opportunity to speak on the names. So I'm not sure if we need to repeat that unless someone had comments to amend, but we have done that in the past, had that opportunity.
Yes, ma'am. And it's only to keep the floor, and I don't want to belabor the point, just to give everyone an opportunity that because you spoke before, doesn't mean you can't speak again, or you may have had a person you were advocating that may have not made the six, and so now you've come to support one of the six. So we can go from there in regard to how you want to do it. We can do a process, or I will take my lead from the members as they ask for commentary. Yes, ma'am.
Because the names are so important, I don't feel comfortable in choosing one name on tonight. I think we can maybe take this a little longer and maybe talk about and discuss maybe the top three, but not give one name on tonight. I'm just not in agreement with that.
Okay. That's why we need to come to some consensus as a group, as a committee tonight, at what we want to yield with. So as much as possible, we may not be unanimous on this, but at least we have all heard each other's perspective. So just to allow, so let me, since there's not a motion to decide on one or more names, why don't we take, and I'll start with, we can go vice chair on around in any particular order that you choose to say what you will about a name if you choose. You're not required to make a comment about anybody. You can hold your commentary and do it just by your vote at that time if you choose to. But I do want to give everyone an opportunity to speak about one or more names if you choose, and I'll take you as you come. So no particular order. Reverend Rawls.
I just have a question. So are we bypassing the rule that we?
I haven't gotten a motion on the floor, so without a motion, there's nothing for me to go forward with.
Ron Rose moved that we decide on one name tonight.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Ms. Green, do you got that motion second? You got Reverend Rawls, and then you kind of had a double second from Mr. Blunt and Representative Henson on that we would leave tonight with one name to be referred to the school board for the naming of this building. Discussion, excuse me, discussion on the motion. Sir.
I'm in favor of one name. I think it's a strong statement, and I think we've spent a lot of time deliberating on this, and the school board will be informed by our deliberation. It will aid them in making a decision, and of course, it's ultimately up to them. So if they don't agree with us, they could disagree with our recommendation and come up with their own. So we don't need to confuse the process. It's pretty straightforward, I think. And I do respect that, there's other ways to do it, so.
Yes, sir. Other commentary? Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passes. So we have come to the table with having one name coming out of today's meeting. So now the chair would open the floor for any one's commentary about any individual or one name or set of names. And at the end of that conversation, it would be the chair's expectation that then there would be a motion made by one of you to support a name, and we will vote on a name. And we may ballot more than one time, but having commentary ahead of time is probably good, because you may then, the committee may then give a sense of where the committee sits and may then decide on who versus, some might say, put a name out there and then start discussion. That's not how I would recommend. I think we recommend by, as Mr. Blunt and others have said, if you have a desire to share your opinion, you do that, and then we take a vote on a name that is brought forward by motion. So that would be how I would do that. So beyond that, I'm opening the floor now at will to any individual that wants to make a comment about your name. The chair will reserve comment to the end on this particular item. Sir.
I think in a previous meeting, we did vote as a body to use ranked choice voting as the method by which we would make the selection. So
I know we did that for the cutting down the list. I didn't know we did it for the ultimate selection. So I will yield. I may have missed that part.
The cut down was not a ranked choice exercise.
I'm sorry. It was you got a chance to put the.
Yeah. So the ranked choice, and we did watch a video. It's a 60-second video. We could review that video, but it's quite a brilliant method to take a bunch of names and get to one, and we could review that. But I think that was a decision that we did make. And my opinion is that I'm fully open to the idea. If this group wanted to use a different approach, we can talk about that. But
We can't. We're not bound by. But it sounds like we made a previous decision. So that would be on the how. On the now, to me, it is the who. And so anyone that wants to make a comment about a person or set of people on the list, the floor will be open to you now to have your say on said person or persons. Anyone want to make a comment about who they support and or why?
First.
You're fine.
See if somebody else might want to talk.
Mr. Blunt first, and then I'll come to to Representative Henson, and I'll take you in any order. And again, you're not required to speak.
Okay, I'm going to be unashamed of repeating myself from what I said last time. I want to see a situation where our youngest learners go around town and see as many as possible different names. Mommy, who is that on that street? Daddy, who's that on that building? Auntie, whose park is that named after? I want them to see as many different. 3 of these names already have facilities named after them. Now, I truly loved Charles Chestnut. He was a friend and an ally on the idea of teaching Black history. And to me personally, he made a huge donation to my GoFundMe when my house fire happened. But there is a potentially forever business already named for Charles and a street named for Charles. I praise the things he got done, especially that he brought Portland curriculum to this community, which myself and a set of volunteers used at a Saturday school with incredible success. But sadly, the school board did not implement Portland, and even today they claim they can't find it, even though thousands of dollars was paid for those volumes. And it was something that was useful to me and others on the Multicultural Curriculum Committee, me and Reverend Wright and some teachers that served on that. So Charles did accomplish a tremendous amount, but his name is in full view and will be for a long, long time. And my favor is toward Gloria Jean Merrick's because she was a classroom teacher. That's what all of this is about, empowering our children in the classroom. And she got recognition not just in this town, but across this state and across this country for innovative methods. That name should be out there to tell every other teacher, you could do this. Every teacher is not going to get on the school board, but every teacher is already in the classroom. And the inspiration of an innovative teacher is to me, is the most important thing. So that's why, even though I give all props to Charles and no disrespect to his family and supporters, but his name is recognized, and it doesn't need to be repeated. In fact, I had conversation with Charles a couple times about the whole idea of Black History Month, and I told him I call it Negro Hysteria Month because it's crazy to cram our history into the shortest month of the year and then trot out the same 10 or 20 names over and over and over when there are hundreds and thousands of names and events that should be recognized. So we need to reach for the maximum number of people acknowledged on public monuments and sites. And that's my piece.
Thank you, Representative Henson.
Thank you. Thank you, colleague, for educating us on it.
Your microphone.
Push a button.
I thought I had it on. It must have gone off by itself, sorry. Thank you, colleague, for that education. And I will tell you there's some impressive names here, and frankly, I could have been comfortable with any of them, especially John Dukes, who was a trailblazer in the school system. But I am going to talk about Charles Chestnut because I know of his deeds from the time I was a child. Charles is the one who started the civil rights movement in Gainesville. He didn't just participate. He was a leader. He organized the youth NAACP at our church, which he compelled all the youth to join, me being one of them at 15 years old. And he organized all of the walk-in sit-ins. And he, frankly, should be heralded as the one who integrated Gainesville and Alachua County, frankly. And moving forward from that, that you've heard everything else, being a school board member, the first Black school board member since Reconstruction for 16 years. He was indeed a civil rights champion, trailblazer, beyond the work he does in the community, and not only as commissioner, but all the families that he served, and he serves them well beyond the grave, I think. He has always been one to, I heard, bridge builder, definitely building bridges. And even though his name, his family name, is on the funeral home, his personal name is definitely deserves to be on the school board building because of all the work he's done for schools and for children and for families. So that's me.
Others? Yes, sir.
I want to echo the comment that all of the names on this list come with a great history and a great impact, and any single one of them would have a great legacy. I heard Mr. Blunt's comments at the last meeting and the ones he shared again today, and they really resonated with me about honoring as many people as we can, but also his comments that he made today, which were the same ones I was going to make about the impact of the classroom teacher. In our district, we have buildings named after administrators. We have buildings named after principals. We have buildings named after governors. We have no building named after a classroom teacher. And I used to work in this building, and I want the people who come to work in this building every day to be reminded of the teachers. And I want people to know that that is the focus of this district, and especially Gloria Jean Merrick's is the name that I'm in favor of because of how she approached teaching, how her commitment to innovation, to meeting the needs of every kid that she taught was inspiring locally, nationally, and she showed how that role can make an impact. I think it's a legacy that is important, but I think this is a good way to honor that, and I think it's the appropriate way to focus the center of education in the district. I think that's most of my comments on the matter. I think that again, everyone has a story that I think should be heard, and I want that story to be for the education and the education decision makers in this building to be focused on education and that classroom instruction. And I think that she embodied that, and I'd like to see that be honored. Thank you.
Others want to share your opinion about one or more names that are on the list? Anybody want to share? Ms. Train.
Oh, it's on, okay. I represent a group, I serve as the chair of the Stonewall Democrats of Alachua County. We were one of the very first organizations that endorsed Charles Chestnut to be the name on this building. And we did it with a great deal of affection for a man who stood up for every student in this school system, not just the ones in his classroom, everyone. So I will be supporting Charles Chestnut.
Other comments from other members about where again, you're not required to share, but you may, if you'd like to. Ms. Fox.
Mr. Chair, I too will be supporting Charles Chestnut. I had some things to say, but the others from the community has already spoken. I think he was a pillar in this community. He served 16 years on the school board. And back then it wasn't easy, but he represented students, teachers, and parents. He represented everybody in our community, not just in a segment of our community. He represented everybody. So for that reason, I will be supporting the name of Charles Chestnut.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. Others that want to share their perspective on one or more names?
For me,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you. Ms. Gloria G. Merrick's, the way she impacted the students, and then not only impacting the students, the way she was able to impact that entire school with the lessons that she was able to teach, and for the school to be able to buy into that program. I think she will be great. Just to have a teacher's name on the building, we don't recognize teachers enough, and so I will support my vote for Gloria Jean Merrick's.
Thank you. Others that want to share their opinion about where they are on a list or a particular name they want to, Ms. Alford?
I just want to say that this is a very tough decision. These all are great leaders in our community, and I think either way that we go, I think it would represent our community well. I actually was initially in favor of the Alachua County School Board because I thought that was all-encompassing of every student in this district, and then coming up with something more innovative to recognize more leaders in our school system. But I am prepared to move forward with one name tonight. Still have mixed feelings because they're all great leaders. So just wanted to make that statement.
Others have, you can come back, you want to make sure that anyone else before, because I'm going to stay to the end, anyone else that wants to come before we come back to you, and not, you get to speak, but just want to, anybody else that hasn't spoken, want to give an opinion before I come back to somebody who has already spoken. Yes, sir.
And I think, I know that we've decided to narrow down to one name, and I think our recommendation as a committee will be for the name of the building. I think in my mind, trying to, balancing the different recommendations, my way that I would like to see the Charles Chestnut III boardroom, because he was the board member at the Gloria Jean Merrick Center.
What?
Anybody else before I take seconds? Okay. I did forget one point I wanted to mention. One of the public comments talked about renaming Duval for Miss Merrick's rather than this building. And I think that idea would rankle some people in that neighborhood. Duval School is named for Duval neighborhood, which gives the residents in that area a feeling of ownership. And I think that must be respected. So I don't think that's a good alternative. Thank you.
Others of you who want to share your perspective, if you choose. Then the chair will just take a point of personal privilege on the item. I will tell you that this conversation is extraordinarily timely. I think somewhat serendipitous that a year ago, former county commissioner and school board member Chestnut passed away almost exactly a year ago to the day that we are having this discussion. So that the idea of his passing and the opportunity for the naming were coterminous was kind of unique that happened. So then it came down to, for me, a conversation about what makes sense. I'm somewhat of a history buff as it relates to particularly politics and community service. I respect Mr. Blunt's comments about certain names and families, and I believe whether you want to say at the national level the name Kennedy or Bush, or if you are dealing with in philanthropic efforts, you might have an issue like Gates or Rockefeller. These names have resonance because of at least a person or a set of family members, that have been impactful in the community, whether it be a city, county, state, nation, it may be a world impact in regard to what they're done. And so there are things like the Rockefeller Center, Rockefeller Foundation. But there are the opportunity, though, when you name a building like this after a person, if that's what we choose, and that's what I lean on, the idea of naming after a person. So the criteria for me then is someone who had impact to the entire county, the impact of a legacy that has stood the test of time, the idea of an impact that blazed a trail for others. And it is clear to me that not only did Charles Chestnut I have impact all the way to the most recent generation of the family, but this young man in particular, as it relates to not the county, that's nice, and what he did for some 60 years as a funeral home director, but what did the person do as it related to schools in Alachua County? As it relates to the big issue that we're still struggling with, and this does relate to the recent election. I think no matter where you are on the political spectrum, there's a belief, whether you feel good or bad about it, that this last election and where we are in this country right now, and for it has been the curse of our country has come down to the issue of race. And we can talk about income, we can talk about gender, we can talk about other cultures, but the challenge of this country has been wrestling with losing more days than winning, sadly, on the issue of race. Charles Chestnut III himself, not the family, not others in the family, not no commentary on what they have or haven't done or what a future member of his family may do, broke the barrier and started as a young man on the issue of how do we speak truth to power. Did it in his teens and caught a lot of HELL without being inappropriate in this room for his service. But because he had the autonomy of what his son said this evening of being a part of a business, he had a little more autonomy to speak truth to power where others may have caught a little bit of more of that HELL because he had a business that was supported by people who look like him. So he could have stayed there and made a bunch of money, and that was fine, and he did a little bit of that in his life, but he used that power and brought it to the marketplace. And the most challenging issue that most people that I've ever talked to, the biggest opportunity for equality in this country is the opportunity to get a quality education. And it's good to talk about at the University of Florida. I'm a proud Gator, and I've done a bunch of things there. All that's fine. But you can't do any of that until you've got a base. And your base starts at your K-12 system, wherever that is, in the 67 counties in Florida and the thousands of counties that you may get a chance to be educated in, hopefully get a quality education. This young man not only cut a swath in this community as a teenager, but then he said, how do I make permanent changes? There are some battles that he lost and some battles that he won. No question about that. But he was the first by his election, the first African-American elected county-wide in Alachua County, in the history of this county. The idea that it's a foregone conclusion now that there will be at least one African-American on the school board in Alachua County. Of course, that's just matter of fact. Because of that standard, you had, oh, well, there'll be a county commissioner, of course, on the county commission, of course. We kind of take that for granted. That had to start someplace. It started, yes, Neil Buller broke the line, the color line of the city, but county-wide in Alachua County, it was Charles Chestnut III who broke that line. Broke that line and did it again, and did it again, and did it again. And that continued moniker of what he represented and what he still represents is true. What I find somewhat disheartening, and this is something that we as residents, and particularly those who are engaged as the 13 members that are here, that we don't talk enough about our local history. People are having a conversation about Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. God love us all. That's a great thing, but most of us will never get a chance to reach out and touch those people. Never have been in any kind of proximate realm. But because things were done, again, we take for granted. Today, I think, is a time for all of us, regardless of our race or culture or particularly our advocacy area, to say, how did we get here? What are the good things we did and what are the things that were not so good? And I have to say, when I look at how we got here, why I have the opportunity to serve in the ways I have, because of a young man named Charles Chestnut III, who said that the school system was the place we needed to start, the place that we needed to make equality start and make it happen. I am the son of a school teacher, and I'm married to a school teacher. I am surrounded by school teachers. So I know whatever I am in 13 years of K-12 education and some number of years of post-secondary education, who I am because I had good quality teachers. My mom literally picked them from K to 5, each individual teacher that I had. The idea of place is important to me. So I appreciate, even though I didn't get a chance to meet Ms. Merrick's at all, I've only heard glorious things about her. And a way to honor her is great. But when I look at a legacy of achievement that stands the test of time, one that not only for me personally, but for, I think, so many generations that don't even know that his impact has touched them. And that's what we have a responsibility to me, as not only as a committee, but as a county, to say, hey guys, hey girls, hey ladies and gentlemen, hey, all people of Alachua County, depending on however you may define yourself, what has been important and how do we build on that? So he, to me, is a cornerstone of Alachua County and what he accomplished, particularly and most particularly in the school system. So I'm sure you're not be surprised that I am an advocate today, and I've tried to stay open and hear others before and not bring my perspective to try to sway someone. I wanted to hear everyone's perspective first and then put mine on the table. So mine is that I believe that when we do get to a name, whether we do it by rank order or we do it by some other type of balloting method, that we leave here tonight with having recommended Charles Chestnut III as the name on this building, whether we choose to name other parts of the building later. God love them all. The 5 school board members have that right on any particular Tuesday or Wednesday they decide to get together to do that. But since they've asked us to give a name, I think his name ranks the best to me. So that's where I stand on the issue, and that's how I'll be balloting as we move forward this evening. And I know that was a long monologue, but that's why I wanted to wait to give everybody an opportunity to say what they wanted to say. And I'm a recovering politician, so I don't get this opportunity too often for to have you hostage. And so I'm sorry for taking advantage of you that way. If there is not another person that has another comment, I think what we now need to do is begin some balloting. We can choose to do it from when I would say one of two ways. When I'm told, and I appreciate the remembrance to make up a word that I'm not sure really is the right word, but I'm going to make it up and not speak poorly of my Alachua County education, is that we voted previously to do a rank order. And a rank order in my mind is and I will be quickly educated about it, would be you being all of us, would then go 1 through 6, and you would put a number attached to it, and you would do it that way. That is a way to do it, and we can do it that way, and I'm fine with that way. Or an option that any one of you have the right to make a motion now or tonight and say, I want to recommend blank name, or even blank names. That is your right as well. That motion being seconded, the floor will entertain that, the chair will entertain that motion, bring it to the body for the opportunity to vote. So we can choose whichever method we know that without a different method, I would yield to precedent in regard to what we voted for previously, but you are open, because we're not bound by that on any given night, we could choose to do something different from my perspective, but that would take a vote of the body to do that. Yes, sir.
We did vote on a method in September, and therefore I think it would need a motion from somebody to use another method, not have somebody just say, I want this person. We need to have a vote to use another method if we'd like to do that. And there must be a motion for that. Otherwise, we have a method that has been approved by this body already that we said we were going to use.
I will yield, Mr. Blunt.
I probably should defer to somebody who's more expert on ranked choice voting, or we should look at that 60-second video. But I don't think you list all the names in ranked choice voting, because if everybody puts down every name, then everybody's going to have votes. There's no. Well, how does the elimination work?
Why don't we do this for the record? First of all, I stand corrected, and that's why there's.
Let's make sure of the method.
Because I think that we do need to be clear that Robert's Rules of Order and whatever the method that I would go with does yield to his interpretation. Since we have voted on the method, we can change the method, but the method changing the method would require a vote of the body here assembled, which we can do it all. We can do that. Or we can go by short of that method being changed, the de facto position would be that we would do the rank order. What I do want to make sure, whether it's Ms. Green or someone else, I want to make sure that everyone understands what rank order looks like so that we can understand it. So if we want to use it, we know what we're using, and if we want to change, we can change. But I want to yield, Ms. Green, can you, because I don't want to do this from a bias, I'm not saying any one of us are biased, but that we understand what would rank order look like tonight if we were to use the method that we've already ascribed thus far. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Fox, and then I want to yield to Ms. Green.
And I just asked Ms. Sal, can we all just write our name down like we did the last time, and it's counted, and she said that's about the same.
It will be very similar.
It would be very similar. Can we just write the name of the person that we recommend, have Ms. Green count them for us, and,
We could, Ms. Fox, but I think our committee members' commentary is accurate, and I want to be consistent with process. The process would be again, I'm going back to old school student body politics. It was a long time ago. The rules would say, if the committee has voted on a process, which I trust because I wasn't here for that meeting, we voted on a process that said rank order. We are governed by that process until we change it. Tonight, we could change the process and do it by submitting one name, but we would not just be able to do it. We need to take a vote as a committee and say that we want to do that and take a vote on that and then do the thing. So I want to be clear that, because I think the comment that was made was correct. We have a process we've adopted until we change the process. So that's where the chair can entertain that.
can I make a motion to change the process
Two,
to everyone writing the name of the person they recommend?
is there a second?
For a second.
Because without a second, the motion would fail. I'm still going to get a commentary about rank order. I'm going to do that in a second. But one of our committee members made a motion, so I've entertained the motion that it was here. So without a second, it would have to fail for lack of a second. Coming back to Ms. Green, if you will explain to the committee and to the public here, what does rank order, Dr. King, you want to?
If I recall correctly, I think we actually voted and approved to use a very specific ranked choice method that was described in this Minnesota Public Radio video that's 60 seconds long. And if we had access to the internet, if we could show this video, it is,
Just tell us.
I can tell you, it's so straightforward, but the video would
Do we have access to
more
it?
efficient than I am. We do have it, all right. I think I probably can.
It's not that difficult. We can do it tonight. Yeah, it's quick.
Pick your color.
The ranked choice voting way.
Instead of voting for just one color, you get to rank your top 3.
Well, purple is the best, but if I can't have purple, I want blue. And if neither of those wins, I guess I can live with orange.
That's what I thought it was.
Now, let's count up everybody's votes.
Under ranked choice voting rules, it's not enough just to get the most votes. You need a majority.
More than 50% of the votes.
Purple's ahead, but it has only 7 votes.
It needs at least 11 to win.
So we eliminate the color in last place.
Sorry, orange fans, we're going to your second choice.
2 more for green,
1 for purple.
but no color has 11 votes yet.
Still no majority. Bye-bye, blue.
1 more for purple,
4 for green.
and we have a winner.
Is it
The
50
ranked
plus
choice
1?
voting way.
Is it 50 plus 1?
Yeah.
Ms. Fox, why don't we do this one more time, because I don't want Ms. Fox to have missed the conversation. It won't take us but a minute. I want to hear this, because I got some questions too, but I want to make sure that all of us get a chance to watch. Ms. Fox, we should have probably put it on pause until you came back. Let's do this one more time.
Pick your favorite color.
The ranked choice voting way.
Instead of voting for just one color, you get to rank your top 3.
Well, purple is the best, but if I can't have purple, I want blue. And if neither of those wins, I guess I can live with orange.
Now, let's count up everybody's votes.
Under ranked choice voting rules, it's not enough just to get the most votes. You need a majority.
More than 50% of the votes.
Purple's ahead, but it has only 7 votes.
It needs at least 11 to win.
So we eliminate the color in last place.
Sorry, Orange Hands, we're going to your second choice.
2 more for green,
1 for purple.
but no color has 11 votes yet.
Still no majority. Bye-bye, blue.
1 more for purple,
4 for green.
and we've a winner.
The ranked choice voting way.
But we're not using colors.
Here we go. I got just a couple questions for my edification. Oh, but first of all, others have questions first before I want to yield to anyone that might be, but it might not have questions like I do. Anybody have a question about the process? Because I do. Question, Doc, is it that then I have to decide on the front end, so I only get to vote once, and I get to rank my order of folks that I want to choose, and I say John, Sally, Tim, when I do that, and I have to vote all 3, or do I have to not, do I get to choose to not choose a second and third? Is that and I'm not telling you check the rules, I'm just trying to understand. If I want to just choose one, can I just choose one, or do I have to choose a second and third choice? You're right, yeah, you're already on.
That's an interesting question, and I can give you my interpretation of how that would extend there. So let's say you voted purple in that model, and you chose not to vote any other way. So you voted purple first. So your purple vote would just sit there, and it didn't matter what you voted second, third, or fourth, because purple's just still being counted. Let's say, though, you voted yellow, and you chose not to vote second, third, or fourth. So you voted yellow, and you just put that one vote in there. And because in that example, yellow came in last place, when they dropped the last place, you're gone. So you don't count anymore. You don't get to participate in the process. And the great thing about that is if we all rank, we could rank all 6 of them. It's so simple to do. You just take your first choice, your second choice, your third choice. We throw them all on the table, and we count them up. And if we have a majority in the opening round, if someone gets whatever our number is, 7, if one choice gets 7, then we're done. If, let's say though, the first choice, the leading choice, gets 6, and then there's a bunch of other choices, we take that last choice, we eliminate it, and that person's second place vote then becomes their vote, and that might put the one choice over the top, or we might go a few more rounds.
Yeah, the challenge I personally have with it is, because I'm, again, a recovering politician, I start playing chess with numbers. So to me, that I might reconsider once I found out the choice. It's almost like in an election, that you might have the top two people go into a runoff, and now you get to vote again, versus saying, hey, that this person may have been my person. It builds it in, versus being able to say that now I didn't know that person was, so now I may choose differently. That's just my one perspective. That's a voice of one. I'm going to run with the majority, and I'll rock it however, we'll do it how we choose to do it. But that's my only concern as a voice of one. Go ahead, yes, sir.
So the way that ranked choice happens, though, is that your second choice for the runoff is already built in your choices. So we don't have to come back and make that second vote. That your second vote is already being tallied immediately, and so it's a time saver, if you will.
Yeah, I get it, but I'm saying, but when you get to 3, if you get my perspective, that if I get a chance to vote again, I may choose differently than I would have chosen. I'm used to being able to vote for one person in regard to something like that. So you're correct. If I stay with the group, I don't want to just be locked in that way. But I'm going to do this as long as I know two things. One, I get up to 3. I can choose to do 2. I can choose to do 3. My call, individual, everybody gets to make their own call about what they want to do, and go from there. Because I have a chess mind that says the second, if there's a common second person, they end up going to the first, which to me doesn't necessarily get the will of the body what we would have wanted. It may end up there, but I like having a couple different shots at it. But I will yield to the body to do whatever the body wants to do, and we have a method that we have approved thus far. Ms. Fox, and then I'll come to Representative Henson.
Can I just, based on what you just said?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I just vote for one?
You can. You can. You do have the right, you have, unless there's no rule against that, you get to submit up to 3 votes. And they will be in rank order, so your first vote will be the one, again, I don't know how we would do this, is by color or name or however we're gonna, but that list would go on, and then your second, once we get that list, if we get a majority the first time, we're done. If we don't, then the lowest group is taken away, or is your second vote already there? It comes forward after that.
Whoever voted first for the one that is eliminated, the second choice moves up.
There we go. Okay, so that's how that works. So that's how that works. So that's how it would happen. So you get to choose how many opportunities you want to have, because if you vote a person, as he said, that doesn't make to the next round, then you're just done. Your vote is done on that score. So other comments about it before we either make a motion or we just start voting? Ms. Alford. I apologize, Representative Henson. I apologize. You were next name, Ms. Alford. I apologize.
It happens.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Just like that. What I heard you explain just now caused me some pause. You're saying that the person the majority may have chosen in the first round may not end up being that person because of
No, let me restate let me make my point. Let me make my point. If there is a majority the first round, we're done. So it's over. No, I want to make sure, I just want to say it clearly, that if 7 people, the issue is getting to 7 tonight. If the first time we get to 7, it's over.
Why are you saying 7? There's 12 of us.
There's 13. We counted 13 earlier. I didn't count again. She said earlier there were 13. Okay, so there will still be 7, because 6 is even.
7 is the majority.
7 is the majority.
All right.
So you got to get to 7. So if we get to 7 first, we're done. If we don't get to 7, then you start knocking off the last, for those folks the person who didn't get there, and then their number 2 comes up and they get added to the total, wherever that total is. So you have to, in that system, you have to be aware then it may be that your number 2 comes in. Your call, yes, sir, yes,
Are we
ma'am.
writing names on different slips of paper, or are we numbering?
I need to ask Ms. Green or someone else how we're going to do that. How would we do the system now? Because I don't know, I haven't seen the voting method physically to do it.
If I could make a suggestion.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Green already went to get Post-it notes. So
Wonderful.
We were going to, well, actually, they can all be the same color. So this is one way of doing it, and I'm just suggesting one way of implementing that is, let's say we chose to vote all 6, so everybody gets 6 Post-it notes, and you write your first choice on the top one, your second choice on the next one under, your next choice, all the way down to the 6, and then we put them out there. And so we'll see it right in front of us. If we have 7 for one of the choices, then it's over. If we have 6 for one of the choices, 5 for another choice, and then 2 and 1, the person who made the sole vote for a choice that's not going to be made, their first choice that Post-it note will come off, and whatever they wrote on the second Post-it note will come in.
Mixed up, so we still need to number them.
You could number them in, yep.
Because these Post-it notes can get mixed up.
You can number, we could number them 1 to 6 on each package, yeah.
So I want to make sure I'm clear about the vote previously. First of all, when we said the method, I'm fine, we did the method. Did we say 3 when we made this vote in September, or we just said the method, and you could go 1 through 6? What was the previous vote? Was it, we would take all the names? You had up to 6 votes? No, I'm saying that, so you could take up to, so really tonight, you have the opportunity individually to vote up to 6 names based on what you're in rank order, is what the system would allow based on, that's the question, I'm just trying to understand. That instead of up to 3, get 6. Yes, ma'am.
Did I remember that we assigned points so that if you had, let's say, John, Sally, Susie, 3 points, 2 points, 1 point, but then they're weighted?
No, that's not how the system works.
We voted against, we were against that.
Okay.
We discussed the point system.
But when we did the original and we had the Google form, remember, like, we had the selection?
This is not that
We just
method.
counted them up.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Ms. Rawls.
Mr. Chair, if you are prepared to receive a motion,
I am.
I, Ron Rawls, move that we use the ranked choice as decided in September, but we use a maximum of 3 votes, 1, 2, and 3.
Is there a second? I'll second it. Ms. Green, did you get that? That was,
She can have it.
yes. Discussion. Reverend Rawls has said that we would do the rank order method as we just saw on the screen, but we would have a maximum of 3, up to 3 votes per person. You get to choose, you don't have to do 3, but you get up to 3 to do, and we'll talk about how to do it in a second, but that's the method that's on the floor. Is there discussion on the method, on the motion, excuse me?
Just a
Ms. Alford.
clarification, I think we said you can only vote 1 name for each ranking, so you can't put like the same name.
Same name 3 times. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, you just vote, you get to vote to up to 3 names if you were to. Ms. Train.
The first ranked choice I did was in Somerville, Massachusetts, and I cannot tell you how many people just voted for one person and their ballots got thrown out. And it did what? They voted for one person in all the slots. You can't do that. Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got to put down 3. So, any more discussion on the motion of rank order? Maximum of 3 votes, 3 names. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion passes that is our method. So, as I understand it, I'm going to yield to more expertise than I have, that I think what we're going to do, I'm going to yield. I'm not even going to say I think. I'm going to let you go ahead and tell us what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So my suggestion, and I hear Representative Hinson, what she says, there could be some confusion. So we number our first post-it 1, and then underneath that, we number our second post-it 2, and then underneath that, we number our third post-it 3. And just for absolute clarity, these are not points. This is the order. And then we're all going to place them out here in front of us, and we'll group them. And if we have a majority for one person in the first round, then we're done. If we don't, then we're going to look for the smallest group. Maybe one person voted for 1 alone, and then that person's top post-it note will be taken off, and we'll reposition their package in another group.
So the 3 are
one way.
So the 3 are going to stay together.
Yeah.
Period. And I know that because you're going where I was going. I want to make sure that regardless of the color issue, we're not going to get lost, because if you only put 1 name, then, and you don't make it to the next deal, then you just go away. But the magic number tonight with this is still 7. So it shouldn't take us but a couple minutes, because it ain't gonna, I can do at least simple math. I might get high level, maybe get a little complicated for me. But get to 7 shouldn't be that hard. So the process is, not that I'm an example, but 1, 2, 3 on the individual slot, on the individual Post-its. You get to put up to 3 names, 1 individual sheet. Once we do that, we will, everybody's got that process done. We'll lay them out in everybody's first name. And well, you're going to put them all 3 down now. Keep them all together, okay? And once your name, if we get there first right out, we're done. So why don't we take, unless there's another question, that we're going to take a minute and do all up to 3 names per person.
We're ready to put them out there, I think.
No, I thought, I got to say, or what am I thought we were writing them down and putting them down. Yes, I'm doing. That's what I'm writing mine. I was too busy talking. I apologize. So everybody can go ahead and put their, so we have, this is the chestnut. We'll figure out, as soon as we put them all out, you put what you did, and we'll go from there.
So we just gotta go to the word.
Just do it right here.
It should be pretty easy once we move the pins over.
Let's put it, yeah, we get one file. Get the Eric's file. This is the Merrick's file, Chestnut file. There's a Chestnut file. The Merrick's, so it's right there. We got one from there.
Make all, yeah, keep all 3 of yours together.
You gotta leave all of them together. No, they can put them all together. All three need to stay together.
Where's mine? Yeah, that's mine. Where's mine? She put a number on it? Yeah, I put 1 on one.
So all of them, so everyone, just be clear, everyone should submit 3 at one time. The top one should be the number 1, the second one should be number 3, and the third one should be, so, do not separate them.
I think this is her, is this yours?
I want to make sure,
Ms. Fox, did you separate yours? So let's have Ms. Fox read.
Not like that, honey, stack them.
what was number 1?
So is that everybody? Let's make sure that's
We
everybody.
should have 12. Okay, so, all right, so we need to have 7. So that means, so that means that this one, we go to the number 2. And that name is? Okay, so that would still be the one we would move. We go to number 3. Okay, so the question now is, so nobody gets, I don't know how you move now.
Well,
No, it can't be.
this is why it's better to vote all 6 names, because then we would have enough information in the,
So I would say,
I don't think it would have gone that far.
yeah.
It would have mattered.
it
So,
would have
so,
stayed at 6 to 6.
it was,
Yes, it would've.
whoa, let's stay together. So what is going to happen, which is going to be very interesting,
You can go to second for everybody, not just that one person.
no, but you can't, you go to the second one.
Number 1, you didn't have a
Who was eliminated for 6-6?
So folks, whoa, let's stay together. So that if you remember the system, the person, the entity who had the lowest amount got removed, and you got to do the second. That's what you got a chance to do. We did that to 2 rounds. Folks, let's stay together, so we can be on the same page. Now we have 6 and 6 with 12 voters. Okay? That's where we are. So that there is nothing else to do with rank order with this, because you can't move anything else in the rank order system because we're tied.
Wait, there's 12 voters, but there's 13 people in the committee because after all, there's been 2 people.
He didn't get to.
What did he say?
I feel 2 positions, but I'm just 1 person.
Right.
Oh, you got it, great. Okay.
He got appointed by 2 different people. So,
Represents himself and God?
so we have, again, I wish we had had this conversation before because it's worse now having it now. Okay, but I'm going, so we have two options this evening. We have more than two, but I'm gonna give you two options that I see. One, we can be done now and send two names because we tied. We can let respectfully Reverend Rawls' position, because he filled two slots, his vote could count twice. That's an option. Option three is that we could take one more round and give everybody an opportunity to vote again, because we did honor our commitment, and we got to the 6 and 6, and we could just take one, and depending on how that comes out, we may be at the same place, we may be at a different place. People may reconsider. I have no idea what people are going to do. But, so, that's the issue. Yes, sir, yes, sir.
So I move that.
Turn on your microphone.
I, Ron Rose, move that we go one more round, and if we end up in a tied situation, that's on with me voting once, we end up in a tied situation, we present both names to the school board.
It's been, I think this young man needs to get the second this time, because he's yielded 5 times tonight on the second. But the motion, the motion is that we vote one more round, and he only, and Reverend Rawls, and if Reverend Rawls still gets one vote, he still keeps one vote, and if it ends up as a tie, we would then recommend both names to the body, being the school board. But we would get one more shot. But we yield, we got 12? Yeah, they either should have empowered him with 2 votes up front and said he had 2 votes, or we should have gotten a 13th person. That.
So we did our job.
So the top 2 are Merrick's and Chestnut. Okay, so each one, and I'm going to amend. I'm going to just because we got to take the motion, that the implication of the motion is everyone gets to vote one name now. So you vote one name now, and we're going to then ballot and count. Any more debate, discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Everyone, put your name, we'll put them up here, and we can do it that way.
It's gonna, I don't know why it would change.
It may very well come out the same, we'll see. Someone may reconsider.
Do we do it? Do we have 7-5?
Okay. So the chair's not going to be supervisor, but I'm going to be quasi-supervisor for this conversation, is that if all minds are clear, we're going to be the supervisor, we're going to be the canvassing board, we're going to be the whole thing right now, is that the numbers show that there's a tie, 12 voting members. No, six members have voted for Ms. Merrick's, 6 members have voted for School Board Member Chestnut. That being as a part of the motion that was already approved, that this body has already voted, to now send these 2 names to the school board, and they will, so that's where we are. My expectation would be that that will be in the minutes of this meeting, that then we will get direction from the school board of whether we can, if they have more for us to do, if they want to submit a 13th person, they can do whatever the heck they want to do. They can decide to take our recommendation and then deliberate at the school board level. But our report out of tonight, December 12th, is that there was a tie, 6 for Merrick's and 6 for Chestnut is what we voted on this evening. the chair will entertain comments from the floor. Mr. Rawls, are you up, still commenting? You just got your thing on? You just on? Mr. Blunt, and then we'll go around for obviously commentary.
It does look like that's what we have left. I'm not sure what else we could do. But I will tell you, after being on a couple dozen advisory boards and committees for the city and county, I know that one of the main purposes of those is to take the heat for the elected folks. So when somebody says, you can't do that, well, this body of people says, so they want us to take the heat. So they may just throw it back to us when we send them a tie, but
Then they may
we'll
have
see.
to then give us another member. If they choose to do that, they would need to respectfully to Reverend Rawls, they would take one of his hats off, give that hat to somebody else, if they chose to do that. They don't have to. They can just vote with what we give them if they choose to. Sir. Hold on, everybody gets to get their comment. If you want to speak, Representative Henson, you get, no, go ahead. You were up, we're gonna go forward.
Chair called on me.
Yes,
I got maybe a compromise suggestion.
I'm
Is
open.
that-
We're open.
Is that we, perhaps, if the group likes this, we recommend that the facility be named for both of them. So it could be the Chestnut Merrick's administration building or the Merrick's Chestnut building. Hopefully, we won't get into a argument over whose name goes first, but and there's some beauty to that. There's some beauty to that because we're saying to Gainesville, we're saying, you know, it's important. I like both of those choices. A teacher is very important, and we have this very important civil rights leader and school board member who served the community quite well, and we're putting both the names for it. I think it would be a beautiful thing. We have two different genders there, so there's something with that too. Just a thought.
Voice of potentially Solomon.
Thinking all those thoughts, aren't you? Well, the only thing I want to suggest is,
Henson, you're next after Ms. Strain. Go ahead, Ms. Strain.
oh, okay, is that we explain to the board how we did our ranked choice voting. I think that is really important, that they understand that what we did as a committee was vote for 3 individuals, and this is how it came out, using ranked choice voting.
Yeah, we can make sure Ms. Green has in the minutes that they're very clear. And what I would probably do, depending on how we do tonight, is meet with the chair and say, this is what we did. And then if she has any questions, we can. And then, again, at that point, let them decide what they want to do. Representative Henson?
Thank you. Operationally, were we only sent 12 members? I remember when Reverend Wall said I can do 2 hats, but
Yeah,
were we only sent 12 members?
We're only sent 12 individuals, even though they were
That's what I
churches.
meant,
Yes,
12
correct.
individuals.
You were correct. That's what we were sent. Other comments? You had one committee member that has voiced an option. That does not have to be the option. Just want to give you all minds are clear before we, because as it stands now, we would recommend both names as separate names, not together names. So I want to make sure there's something else that the body has a desire to do, we can do that. So I want to give the floor the opportunity to do something. If not, we will be getting ready to shut this meeting down because we've done the work that we could as best we could. Ms. Fox, and then Ms. Strain.
Can we have a discussion on Dr. King's
While the floor is open to any discussion you would like to discuss, why not until before, I haven't asked for a motion to adjourn yet. Ms. Fox, and then Ms. Strain.
What does the committee feel about Dr. King's recommendation?
Well, we can only, everybody's got to voice their own opinion. Ms. Strain would be first, and then I'll come back to others.
Is there any precedent? One building being named after 2 people?
I'm not aware of that, but I'm not going to swear that I have a global knowledge of school board buildings. I'm not aware of a school or a school district building in my lifetime that has 2 names. What has happened is a name has been taken off and we put another name on. But there's not a building that I'm aware of in all of Alachua County. I may be being corrected very shortly.
Not Alachua County, but Miami-Dade County does have a school named after Alonzo and Tracy Mourning.
Oh, they are husband.
Because husband and wife.
Well, that's different.
Yeah, that's all.
Still 2 people.
Yeah, it's up to,
They both have the same.
yeah, but I mean, everybody, but let's realize, if we learn nothing from the last election, everything is in the eye of the beholder. So we each get to individually decide whether we want to do anything different than we just did. Reverend Ross.
I'd like to make a motion. I don't think we necessarily always have to follow the rules everybody else followed. With a note, let's make a note that we did what we were assigned to do under a flawed system, but our work was completed. And the work that we did, it displayed that we recommend the naming of this building, the Chestnut Merricks, whatever the end part is, but the Chestnut Merricks, and whatever the rest of it is, but we go Chestnut Merricks. And now, from here, because I was just torn, the legislative, the civil rights, that piece, Merricks, just the difference that she made that we could use now with our failing children. Not failing children, the system failing our children.
Yes, there you go, there you go.
We need that type of innovative thinking. And so my motion is that we recommend, but we make the note, under the flawed structure that you gave us, we came up with two names that we'd like to combine, the Chestnut Merricks, fill in the blank. Yes.
Been moved and seconded that we recommend, everybody hold the motion, I don't need to repeat it, you heard it, I don't need it, it speaks for itself. Any commentary on the motion on the table? Sir?
I would just say that I'm really satisfied with that recommendation. That was kind of the bridge that I was trying to gap in, or the gap that I was trying to bridge when recommending two different names, because I think they are both deserve to be on the building, and putting forward two names, being clear that we recommend them both together. I think we leave ourselves the room to, for arrangement. We kind of did that already when we were talking about district administration, how we want to word it, but I think that the recommendation is that both of their names are together, whether it's center or complex or something like that.
I want to be, I don't want to parse here, but I want to parse from the intent of the maker. Was your motion to put both names up, or to have Chestnut go first and Merricks? That, I want to make sure that what you're.
Have the former school board member and legislator's name and community activist name go first, Merricks, and so we have
Chestnut
a leader
Merricks.
of the district, and we have a teacher of the district. Same
In that order.
but in that order.
Okay, I want to be clear about that in regard to what what the motion, the maker wanted to do, and you understood that and that you second that motion. Yes, ma'am.
I'm a current classroom teacher.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was a very hard decision, and I really like this compromise, whatever you would want to call it. And I think it's important right now to just give a nod to teachers, because it's hard out there. So I know teachers will appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am. Others? Representative Henson.
Thank you so much. Whichever way we go, we are now not submitting two names for the school board to deliberate on. We are deciding. Is that what's happening?
We're
Well,
recommending.
that's what this motion.
We're
We're recommending, because they're going to make the decision. The decision is still theirs.
I see.
So if this motion is approved, we would be recommending that this building be renamed the Chestnut Merricks blank administrative building, whatever the part after that is, that's what they would do. They can thank you, they can say thank you very much. They can say go to blankety blank. They can do whatever they want to do, because they get that right. But we would not be saying the names in general. We would saying this is not, we recommended two names. We recommended this combination of names. So this would be the answer that we would, if you do what we are suggesting being them, they would name it the Chestnut Merricks, not choosing between.
I have one last question.
Yes, sir. Miss ma'am, excuse me.
Are we submitting Charles Chestnut III and Gloria Merricks, or are we only doing their last names?
Come back to the maker. What was your
Yeah,
intent?
would they accept that as a friendly amendment?
My motion was the last name.
So that was not a friendly amendment, so that would be that is the motion So you understand it, so it would not say, so I want to be very, very clear, and please correct me if this is not your intent, that the motion as it has been clarified, it would say Chestnut Merrick's. It would not have their full name attached on either side. It would be those two names and not. So I'm not advocating, I'm just clarifying. Ms. Strain, well, Ms. Strain made a point, she raised a clarifying point, so I want to make sure that the maker is making a point, and I want to stay with that.
And so my only reason for saying that is not to convolute it, and so if we could, because number 6 says we have a discussion on the final thing that's submitted. And so if we could come up with a way to not have 7, 8 words, as the name, so the 7, 8 words, administrative building, and so we got a lot, we can come up with a name to make sure both are accurately recognized, that we do initials, and last name, but that's the intent of my motion, is to make sure both names are included, but it's not way out here so that your GPS can't, find it.
So something like this, I'm guessing the second.
I wanted to say something about putting "and" there instead of a hyphen. Like "and," because people that don't know might think it's somebody's hyphenated name. You know what I mean? So.
The challenge I have with what was just discussed is, we had a discussion about names and family and people. For me, if we just do it the way we just talked about, and I'm a voice of one, we don't give it the credit to the two individuals that we are honoring by this act. By saying that it does anybody's name Merrick's, because it won't have Ms. Merrick's first name. And so anybody with that last name it would give credit to, and anybody with the last name Chestnut it gives credit to. Our value tonight was not to do that, I think. Ours was to say, these individuals, we are now tied upon, and we're not going to bridge the two of them together. So to me, we would need to say blank name and blank name fully written out, from my perspective, is what we would need to do.
Is it possible that we could ask the family for, if we can say 3, like say Charles Chestnut III, if that's is that satisfactory? Ask the Merrick's family, Gloria Jean Merrick's, as opposed to, 4 or 5 names for each one. You can ask the family for 3, maybe 4 satisfactory motions to satisfy that name. And I'm just trying to avoid, like when we talk about Joe Buchanan,
Joseph Joe Marcus Buchanan.
bunch of names. So if we can just ask the family what's satisfactory, I'm gonna try to keep this.
I would, my friendly amendment would be, if I were making a comment on this in that way, would be that we use the formal name of the people and leave that level of discussion to the board. But as our intent is to have the names being the individual names, not the individual last names only, be recommended. It doesn't have to be Charles S., his middle name, the third Gloria, but written out, but it would connote the individuals connected. That would be my entertainment to friendly for the motion to, without, because I don't want anything to be voted down. I'm just trying to get us all on one page. So we're still discussing the motion, and I've got a comment here, and then Ms. Alford.
Ms. Alford is first.
Go ahead, Ms. Alford.
I'm just agreeing with you. I think it really waters down the intent when you just have a last name, because that represents a family, not an individual. So I feel very strongly about having a first, last name with both individuals.
Yes, sir.
I feel like we're at a bit of a loggerhead tonight, and maybe we need to have a January meeting. It is almost 8 o'clock, and I know David Stanley and Ms. Green have been at work since 8 a.m. this morning, and that would be a 12-hour day for both of them, so asking them to stay later for us to deliberate, I think, would not be.
Is that a move to adjourn or something?
Yes. I also have to go pick up my daughter in 10 minutes. So that's my suggestion.
That's a suggestion thus far. I want to, if we can just take 5 minutes, I hope we could get this issue resolved and not have to come back. because I would rather be done if we can. So if we can just take a couple more quick comments, and then we'll yield to the motion. You're willing to accept that version? Perfect, okay. Yes, sir.
We do have one more practical reality that we have to write this up and provide a narrative that supports that, and that ends up being something we have to discuss as well, but.
Well, so with the motion, so the narrative issue notwithstanding, go ahead, I'm sorry, Kali, you have the floor, so I want to yield to you.
This may just be euphemistic, but I was going to tell you to think about the things where you've heard two names, Lee and Perrin, Smith and Wesson, Hall and Oates. We do that, so I just wanted to drop that.
Yeah, I'll just tell as a voice of one, I'm with the names. The maker of the motion accepted this. Did the seconder accept that as a friendly motion, friendly amendment as well? Did you accept the full names on them? Are you accepting that? Yeah. Okay. So the motion as it stands would be, we would recommend Charles Chestnut III or some version of that. I'm not going to get exactly. And Karen Jean Merrick, some version of that. And it would be an and there in regard to how we would name, we will make the recommendation to the full board. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Aye. One opposal. So that's how we will yield it. What we will do is yield for anything that, there's two ways to do this in 30 seconds. You can yield to the chair and vice chair to help with the writing thereof without having to come, or we can come back and have a meeting. From my perspective, the work is done, and the writing part, if there's some other narrative, but if you all want to wordsmith and come back in January, I'm fine with that. I don't want to take anything from you. I just want to yield the opportunity because the point that has been made is a legitimate point. So I want to have that opportunity to entertain that. Yes, ma'am, and then I'll come, Representative Henson.
I apologize.
Yes, we can send it out by email.
What are we talking about?
Yes, we will definitely do that. We will definitely do that.
Who's writing it?
And circulate it to,
And then circulate it to each of the members where they can make comment, and then bring it back to them again, and then we'll send out the final document.
been moved and seconded. Any discussion on that? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes. Thank you all so much for your service. Enjoyed you.